So you're thinking about moving to Austin, Texas, and you're wondering, what does it cost to actually live there? Well, in today's video, I'm gonna share with you everything. In fact, I brought a lot of my bills and I'm gonna share with you exactly how much it costs from month to month to live here. I'm holding nothing back. We're gonna talk about housing prices, grocery bills, taxes, electricity bills. With some of these, you're probably gonna be a little bit shocked, or maybe not, but stay tuned till the end because I'm gonna share with you everything. So let's get started right now. Okay, number one, and probably the most obvious one, housing costs, affordability. When we're talking about homes in the Austin and Round Rock metro area, the median home price is anywhere from $400,000 to $450,000. Now remember, this is when we're including the suburbs, right? So the city of Austin plus Round Rock, Cedar Park, Georgetown, Kyle, Buda. So that's why it may seem a little bit lower than what you expected. But when we're talking about the city of Austin, we're actually talking about a median home price of right around $550,000. So again, when we're comparing the Austin Round Rock MSA, we're talking about $470,000 to $485,000. And then when we're just talking about the city of Austin, it's more around $550,000. Now, when it comes to rent, because I'm sure you're wondering that, let's say that you're not fully ready to buy yet. When it comes to a rental, if we're talking about a house, let's say a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, the average rental price for that is right around between $2,100 to as high as $2,800. Now, that's also based on the location. That's mainly when we're talking about the suburbs or on the outskirts of Austin. When you're talking about a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, it can go anywhere from $1,300 a month to $1,800 a month. And I'm talking about apartments when I say a 1-bedroom to, let's say, a 2 or 3-bedroom apartments. Typically, they tend to be under $2,000. Now, one of the most shocking costs, especially when you're coming from out of town, let's say that you're moving from California or you're moving from the Northeast, Seattle, people are shocked to find out how much property taxes are here. So one good rule of thumb to keep in mind this cost is that it can be anywhere from 1.7% to 2.9% of the value of your house. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, how do I determine that? And that value is actually determined by the government, unfortunately, by the county. The appraisal district revalues your home every single year. And depending on how the market is doing, to be honest, I don't know exactly what they use to value your property. Yes, they do a comparative analysis, but at the same time, they did get a little greedy during the pandemic years and our taxes came up really high. Thankfully, the Texas government decided to fight against that. And we've put some things in place to where now they're capped at a certain amount of how much the taxes can go year over year. But for easy math, your taxes can be anywhere from 1.7% to 2.9%. And that brings you on average, again, this is an average, it depends on the value of your house. But on average, it can be, let's say that it's a $500,000 home, correct? Let me give you that example. $500,000 home at a 2.2% tax rate. Your tax bill for the year is going to be right around $11,000 a year, which means that it's right around $900 a month, okay? And that does not include principal and interest, insurance, or the HOA. So keep that in mind. So right around $11,000. Now, just really quickly, I'm not going to get into the weeds about the homestead exemption. We can talk about that once you reach out. And if you need help moving to this area, or if you need help figuring out the cost of living here, we can help you with that. But you have to reach out to the number, the email, or schedule a Zoom, and we can figure that out. But not to get into the weeds of the homestead, essentially it can actually reduce your property tax bill by a certain percentage. It provides you more protection against any increases in the future, and then some other protections as well. Okay, in addition to that, we're talking about HOA costs. Now, this is in the housing category, but I wanted to make a separate category, I guess, just to talk a little bit more in depth about it. So when it comes to your HOA, it can vary, and you could also have a zero cost for the HOA. It just depends where you choose to live. But most of you out there, when you reach out and we help you through this process, you tend to prefer new construction, brand new homes, because typically you're either calling me from New Jersey, New York area, or you're coming from California and Seattle, and there's not a whole lot of new constructions in those areas. And you're attracted to the fact that we have a ton of new homes in the area. So let's talk about that first. When it comes to the HOA cost of a brand new development, it can vary, and it can be as low as $30 a month. Actually, I just got done touring a brand new community down south of Austin, and it was $30 a month. And it even had an amenity center with a pool and a park and everything. But it can be anywhere from $35 a month all the way up to right around $120 a month, give or take, right? When we're talking about houses, brand new developments, especially when we're talking about master plan communities. Really quickly, when we're talking about master plan communities, we're talking about communities bigger than usual, bigger than what you're used to. They typically have anywhere from 500 homes in the community or all the way up to 8,000 homes in those communities. And they will have an amenity center. They will have activities for the kids. They will, more than likely, they will have a school inside the community, typically an elementary school. Now, when we're talking about higher end communities, let's say Rough Hollow out in Bee Cave, Lake Travis area, or gated communities, then your HOA will come up, right? It can be anywhere from $800 a year to maybe even $1,200 a year or more, of course. Now, when it comes to condos, let's say that, hey, Julio, I'm interested in a downtown condo, kind of like lock it up, ready to go. I don't have to worry about anything. Typically, those HOAs are going to come up even more. It could be as low, minimum. What I've seen is anywhere from $250 to maybe $400 a month. That's the lowest on the lower end. And then it can be as high as over $1,000, right? Now, especially some of the newer developments downtown, let's say on Rainy Street or in that area, they offer a ton of amenities for you. You know, a pool, a sauna, a spa. Some of them even have a restaurant on the lower level. So they have a ton of amenities. So it may justify some of the cost. Sometimes it doesn't. Personally, I wouldn't live down there, but if that is what you're looking for, of course, we can help you with that, but you have to take into account the HOA costs, right? Now, there are neighborhoods around the entire Austin area and in the suburbs that will not have an HOA. But keep in mind, because I do get people asking about these suburbs, they're like, I don't want to deal with an HOA. You know, they have too much power, this and that. One of the benefits that a lot of people don't talk about, and it is a benefit, is that they maintain the common areas. They maintain the streets. They mow the common areas. They keep up with the pool maintenance. They also have activities for you and the family. So there is a lot of benefits to having one. But if you're set on not having one, of course, there are those opportunities, but you will notice for those neighborhoods, when you're driving around those neighborhoods, you will notice one house that is completely, outgrown front yard, maybe 2 cars parked in the front yard, and then right next to it, you have a really nice house. So there's no consistency to that neighborhood, right? But of course, you don't have anybody breathing down your neck about cutting your yard, or you left the trash out, things like that. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know how much I love toll roads. Not really. I do use them because I feel like it's a necessary evil in a way to get around Austin, especially nowadays. But it is important that you know the cost of these toll roads. Now, we're going to put a map on the screen, and I'm going to name the most common traffic toll roads. So if you're looking at a map of Austin, up north, you're going to have 45 toll road, which is actually a pretty short toll road. And then typically that toll road runs east to west from, let's say, kind of the Round Rock, Pflugerville area, and then all the way out to Cedar Park area, okay? That's really the main one that kind of runs east to west on the north part of Austin, right? And then if we make our way east, you have the famous 130, which, yes, the speed limit on this toll road is 85 or maybe 95 miles per hour, or for some people, even 100 miles per hour. But that one, the cool thing about that one is that it goes all the way from Georgetown, Texas. You see it here on the map, all the way down to Seguin, Texas. So on that whole eastern part of kind of the central Texas area, you can skip all the mess and all the BS traffic that you get in I-35, right? So that one goes north to south. And then on the west side of Austin, you also have Mopac, which for the longest time, Mopac was free. But then the city decided to make one lane a toll road. And that is another option to go north and south. And Mopac runs essentially from like the Wells Branch area, more or less, Palmer Lane, all the way down to Davis Lane, which is basically South Austin. So that's another one to keep in mind. But that entire stretch is not a toll road, but most of it is, okay? And then another one, one of the main ones is 183. So 183 honestly goes through the heart of Austin. So it kind of cuts across from like a southeast corner to a northwest corner of Austin. And a lot of that is a toll road. And I believe that they're expanding it as we speak. And it's going to get even bigger, right? So the main part that it's a toll road, it's anywhere from, I believe it's the 290 highway and then all the way down to downtown, essentially. So those are the toll roads. Now, as far as the cost, it varies. I know that's annoying, but it varies. So for example, I'm going to look at my notes really quickly. So when it comes to 130, it can vary anywhere from $9 to $12 one way. Okay, that's one way. Keep that in mind, which is ridiculous. I know, it's crazy. And now here's the worst part about it, is that especially 130, it's getting busy. There's traffic on 130 when there used to be traffic in 130. So $9 to $12 one way on 130. Again, when we're talking about the east side of Austin, right? When we're talking about 45, which is shorter, or Mopac, it can be anywhere from 50 cents one way, right? Depending on the time of the day, or $8 one way during rush hour. Yeah, nuts. So the cost, I know, isn't that crazy? The cost goes up depending, if it's like basically between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., the cost goes down, and then during rush hour, it goes up. Ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense in my eyes. And then 183, which I think it's one of the most expensive ones, which is shorter, but it can be anywhere from $3 to $5 each way. And it just got expanded I forgot to mention that. It just got expanded all the way up into Cedar Park, Leander, Liberty Hill area. Now, the benefit of this, let's say that you live all the way up in Liberty Hill in the northwest corner of this Austin area. If you want to get to the airport really quickly and not hit a ton of traffic, 183 is going to be a great option nowadays because they just expanded it all the way up to Liberty Hill, and it can literally take you all the way down to the airport. So, and then if it's one way, $3 to $5, that may be worth it, especially if, let's say that you travel out of town for work once or twice a week. So, and so those are more or less the cost. So let's review. 130, anywhere from $9 to $12 one way, guys, one way. 45 or Mopac, it's going to be anywhere from 50 cents to $8 one way. And then 183, $3 to $5 each way, again, one way as well. So monthly impact, and again, I'm going to summarize all this at the end of the video, but because I'm such a fan of the toll roads, one of my biggest pet peeves of Austin, if we had to name one, you're looking at anywhere, let's say that you do it once or twice a week, you're looking at anywhere from $40 to $60 per month. Something to keep in mind when it comes, again, to the cost of living in Austin, Texas. On to the next category, which kind of adds on to the transportation cost of living in this area. We're going to talk about gas, but good news. We do live in Texas. Gas is way cheaper than it is on the West Coast. I actually just got back from going to Oregon, and it was crazy. 1 gallon was $4.50. We don't see that around here. So the good news, if you move out here, you're going to save a lot on gas. So on average, right now, as we speak, we're talking about anywhere from $3.20 to maybe $3.50 on average. But if you go to Costco, you guys know how much of a fan I am of Costco. 99% of the time, the gallon is going to be under $3. It's typically anywhere from $2.80 to maybe $2.95. But again, I'm giving you averages, right? As you guys know, it goes up and down. So now, average commute, let's say it's anywhere from 27 minutes to 32 minutes in the Austin area. If you get on the nightmare that it's called I-35, it's going to be longer. So keep that in mind. So, if depending on, and I'm not going to go into the monthly cost of gas because Everybody's gonna have a different car out there, but again, it can be anywhere from $3.20 to $3.50. Isn't that awesome? Especially for you Californians that are watching this, where your gas is, I don't know, in the high $4, $5, $6, whatever it is. Now, when it comes to car insurance, I have a premium car, whatever that means. I have an Audi Q5, just to give you an example, and the cost, I pay monthly $220. My fiance pays right around $160. She has a Subaru Outback, so she's had it forever. She says she's gonna drive it until it runs into the ground. So that kind of gives you an idea of the insurance cost. So yeah, it can be anywhere from $150 to maybe $300, depending on the car that you have. But I just wanted to give you those two ranges, right? Now, oil changes. Typically for me, since I have, again, because I have that stupid car that costs more, which never again, by the way, never making that mistake again. But the oil change, for my car, it's anywhere from $100 to $120 per oil change. For her, it's a little bit less. It's anywhere from $70 to $100 per oil change. And of course, that's every 5,000 to 7,000 miles, right? Now, I put on here the public transportation, but here's the reality of living in Austin. More than likely, you're never gonna get on the bus. You're never gonna get on the little metro rail that we have that goes, anywhere from Leander all the way to downtown. If they improve that, then maybe I'll add that cost, but I know it's anywhere from like 50 cents to maybe $3 one way to go all the way up from Leander to downtown. So it's not a huge cost. But let's be honest, guys, we are a car-dependent city. Texas is in general. And so you're gonna need your car to go everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So get used to driving, because I have gotten this concern, let's say, from people, especially that are moving from the Northeast part, let's say New York, New Jersey, where there is a well thought out public transportation where you have the metro, the subway, buses, things like that. Well, we don't have that here. I mean, except for maybe downtown, like really just downtown. We don't have that here. So take into account the cost of gas. Switching gears a little bit, we're gonna be talking about utilities, which I know it can be the big elephant in the room, and how the weather affects that for the good and the bad. Because yes, we live in Texas, and a lot of you wonder out there, what is the cost of electricity during the summer? It gets so hot out there, it gets so humid. So I brought my bill, and I will put it here on the screen to show you the reality of May, June, July, August, September, sometimes even into October. How hot it gets, how humid it is, and how that affects your electricity bill. So for us, there's just two of us right now. Hopefully more people, kiddos in the future. But for us two, we live in a 2,200 square feet house. Our average electricity bill is anywhere from $200 a month to $250 a month. That's just electricity, guys. Just electricity. $200 and $250 per month, right? If you're a family of four, like my sister, they live in a 3,000 square feet house. And I asked them the other day, and they pay anywhere from $400 to $450 per month for electricity. I know for some of you out there, especially, I think it's from California, I've gotten that they tell me, Julio, that is nothing. That's super cheap. For us, I mean, I feel like that's a lot. So that's the bad news. The good news is that in the winter, you rarely use your AC as much as you use it in the summer. And so your bill comes down quite a bit. For us, it can actually come down even to $100 a month, which is crazy. But on average, you're looking at anywhere from $120 to maybe $180 in the winter months. So when we're talking about November, December, January, February, because honestly, around end of February, March, it starts to get hot again. So now when it comes to, so that's electricity. Now, when it comes to water, sewer, and trash, this is gonna vary. For example, I live in Pflugerville, and the cost is a little bit higher. So we pay anywhere from $100 to actually $200 for those services. So water, sewer, and trash. And it's actually higher because I'm also including watering the lawn, right? Watering the yard. All of the new homes nowadays, so if you're looking for a new homes, will have an irrigation system in your house, which is good news. Not just for keeping your yard green, which that's what most people think that we're trying to do around here, but actually no. It's to prevent any foundation issues in the future, especially when we're talking about homes on the east side of I-35. The soil that you're building on tends to move a little bit more than the west side of I-35, because on the west side, it's mainly rock, it's mainly limestone. So your foundation tends to not move as much as it does on the east side, right? Compared to the west. So it's very important to have an irrigation system to at least water once or twice a week to keep that soil moist so that the foundation doesn't move as much. So anyway, so it's not just to keep your yard green, but it's also to prevent any foundation issues in the future. And then internet, I feel like it's a fair cost. It's anywhere from $70 to $90 a month. So again, just to recap, we'll put it here on the screen. Electricity, anywhere from $250 to $350 a month. And this is, again, for a 2,200 square feet house for 2 people. For 4 people, you probably have to double that cost. That's for the summer. Electricity for the summer, so $250 to $350. Winter electricity, anywhere from $100 to maybe $180 a month. Water, sewer, and trash, again, it'll vary per city. Round Rock tends to be a little bit lower than Pflugerville, but it can be anywhere from $100 to $200 for all those 3 services. And then internet, anywhere from $70 to $90 a month. When it comes to school and education, I wanted to include this category, especially if you have a kid in college and you decide to send them to University of Texas, or they got accepted into the University of Texas, and you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should move down there. Maybe not be super close to our daughter or son, but at least be in the area. So this might be important for you parents out there. So when it comes to the cost of the University of Texas, when it comes to in-state tuition, right? So let's say you already live here. It's about $11,000 a year, but that's just tuition. That's not including housing costs, food, you name it. Out of state, it's going to be about $41,000 per year, okay? And of course, that doesn't include housing, food, all those things. Now, when it comes to private schools, so when we're talking about secondary education, private schools, it can be anywhere from $12,000 to $25,000 per year per student, okay? If that is you, if that is the case, if you're like, hey, we want to send our kids to private school, and we actually have some pretty good private schools around the area. And then of course, public, that cost comes free. And then, but you know, we're just talking about supplies and let's say gear for their sports and then transportation costs and things like that. But of course they have the school buses that come and pick them up if parents are not able to. So as a whole, when it comes to school and education, when we're talking about private schools, it can be anywhere from $12,000 to $25,000 per year. And then when we're talking about the University of Texas, I didn't get the cost for, let's say, Texas State or St. Edward's, but University of Texas is in-state tuition is $11,000 per year. Out of state is $41,000 per year. One of my favorite categories, and it is traveling. Now, one thing to keep in mind, Austin Airport is still somewhat small when you compare it to Houston and Dallas. So you don't have a ton of direct flights to certain areas. Of course, you have it to the major cities, but for the most part, you're going to make a stop somewhere. I would say that's one of a small pet peeve that I have with Austin, but it's not a big one. But yes, when it comes to Dallas and Houston, typically you can fly anywhere in the world and you only stop once or non-stop flights. In Austin, we're still growing, so you're more than likely going to make a stop. But the average round trip ticket, let's say domestically, it's going to be anywhere from $250 to $400, more or less. It depends where you go. It depends how many stops. But for example, my fiance goes to see her grandma about twice a year to Long Beach, California, and it costs her anywhere from $250 to $300 per round trip. So pretty cost efficient. Now, when it comes to international trips, obviously that's going to vary, but I'm just going to give you one. If you want to get some good food and you want to go to Ciudad de Mexico or Mexico City, you have as low as $250 for a round trip ticket all the way to Mexico City. To Cancun is the same. I think it's like $200. So super, super cheap plane tickets. I know I have a colleague that goes to Guatemala because he's from there, and his round trip ticket, I think it's like $600 or something like that. So it can be also very cost efficient to travel from Austin as well. Another one of my favorite things to do in the Austin area, because we are truly a foodie town and we finally have some Michelin star rated restaurants. They only have 1 star, but still, it's okay. 1 counts, right? Typically, when you go out to eat for 2 people, it just depends, right? It can be super cheap. You could probably spend 40 bucks, including the tip. If you want a really good restaurant and really good food, let's say that you just get an appetizer, entree, dessert, and then maybe just 2 cocktails, 1 for you and 1 for your partner. You're looking at we typically spend anywhere from 150 bucks to maybe even 200 bucks. It just depends on the restaurant, right? Or it could be maybe even around 100 bucks. But typically to go out to eat in Austin and to go out to drink, it's pretty pricey, especially downtown. To get a cocktail is anywhere from 10 bucks to 18 bucks per cocktail, which is crazy to me now to think about that. So keep that in mind. If you like to go out and have good food, maybe let's say once a month for date night, or maybe once every 2 months, take into account that when it comes to your budget, that it could be anywhere from 100 bucks to maybe 250, depending on how nice of a restaurant it is. Let's say at steakhouse, you're definitely gonna spend maybe about 200 bucks per dinner. So now it is a lot of fun because you have a ton of options. Really good food, whatever you like. For the most part, we have it. And then now I feel like there's a trend towards like having this fusion Korean barbecue and all these fusion restaurants that you see around town. Now, when it comes to entertainment, because that's included with entertainment, obviously we have ACL Festival. We have Blues on the Green, which is actually free. But there's always something going on. A comedy show, some sort of art festival. There's always something going on, and that can be anywhere depending on what the show is or the concert. Of course, like 50 bucks to maybe 200 bucks as well. So that's more or less the cost of entertainment and dining. And lastly, when it comes to the outdoor lifestyle, which that is one of the most beautiful things about living in this area, is that you have the hill country and you have a ton of things to do outside. You have green belts, you have Lake Travis, Lake Austin, Lady Bird Lake, whatever you want to call it, Lake Georgetown, Canyon Lake. You have a lot of things to do outside, which, guess what? They're free. To go to Zilker Park and have a picnic with your significant other is free. Well, obviously the cost of gas to get down there or get up there, but there's a ton of green belts that are free. If you go to Lake Travis, for the most part, it's free. It just depends if you have to rent a boat. But for the most part, a lot of these outdoorsy type activities are free. Now, things that cost a little bit. Let's say that you want to go visit a state park. Typically, a state park pass, it's anywhere from 35 bucks to 70 bucks, depending if it's a family or if it's an individual. For example, Barton Springs Pool, famous pool here in the area, spring fed for who knows how many years. It stays the same temperature year round. And it's just $5 entry fee. But guess what? Here's an expert tip from a local. It's actually free before 8 a.m. every single day. If you're an early bird like I am, you can get into Barton Spring and you beat the crowds too. No crowds, and it's, I know it's only $5, but if you want to get in for free, let's say, and you're an early bird, I mainly do it just to skip the crowds. Not because I'm cheap, guys. I'm not cheap. But it is free before 8 a.m. And then let's say if you want to kayak the Lady Bird Lake or Town Lake, I believe the last time I went, I think it was about 45 bucks for an hour, maybe 2 hours. Whether it's paddleboard or kayak, I think it's anywhere from 35 bucks to 45 bucks for an hour or 2 hours. But still, you really don't have to pay a dime to do anything outside because you have a ton of green belts, rivers. When it rains, you actually have these random rivers that pop out of nowhere. And then, of course, the lakes that we have around the area. Okay, so let's recap. And I just noticed that I forgot to talk about your grocery bill. So let's hit that up really quickly. So I'm giving you my example for my fiance and I in a household of 2. We typically spend anywhere from 140 to maybe 200 bucks per week. So let's say on the high end, we're spending right around 800 bucks per month when it comes to groceries. That's just for the household of 2, right? And some weeks are lower, some weeks are higher, but let's just say $800 per month, right? When we go to the store. And we tend to eat in a lot. We cook a lot at home and we like to eat in. We typically only go out to a date night maybe once per month, typically. And then of course I have my Chick-fil-A when I'm running around from appointment to appointment because I love Chick-fil-A. But now when it comes to a family of 4, you probably have to double that. You're looking at anywhere from $1,000 to maybe $1,500 per month for a family of 4 when it comes to groceries. So now let's recap. Let's go back to the recap. So when it comes to your mortgage, and again, this is all going to change. It depends how much money you put down on this house, right? There's a lot of variables, but let's just say that, well, I put it here on the screen. Let's just say that you have a $450,000 home, right? Your mortgage, more or less, it's going to be right around $3,500 per month. Okay. That's depending on how much you put down. But I think I did the calculation with a 10% down payment, which is $45,000, right? So cost of your shelter, $3,500. Utilities, we're gonna say anywhere from $500 to maybe $800 per month during the high season, which is the summer here. Groceries, we're gonna say anywhere from $800 to maybe $1,500 per month. And then HOA, because I put it with the housing and the essentials, we're talking about anywhere from $30 to $120 per month, right? Transportation, that's the other category. Gas, it's gonna be anywhere from, I put $250 per month for a household of 2. Toll roads, if you take them a lot, it can, again, like I mentioned before, it can be anywhere from $40 per month to $60 per month for just one person. So you can do that math. Insurance for 2 cars, I just put it as $400 per month. Then again, just hypothetical, education. Let's say that you do want to go to private school, because I've gotten a couple of people that want to send their kids to private school. For 2 kids, some of them could be $15,000 per year, right? And then of course, if you go to public school, that drops off completely. And then when we're talking about, dining out, entertainment, outdoor lifestyle and activities, it can be anywhere from $100 per month to, when it comes to dining out and entertainment, let's say that you really like eating out, it can be as high as $800 per month. Okay. So that's the breakdown here on the screen. When we're looking at the total cost monthly, when it comes to a household of 2 or maybe 4, it can be anywhere from $8,500 per month to $10,000 per month. Okay. Now, before you come at me with like, that is very little, that is a lot, whatever you have to say, remember that this is going to vary. For example, for us, what works for us, we tend to eat in a lot, right? So we actually don't spend this much. Okay. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. We don't tend to eat out a lot, right? We have 2 paid off cars. So keep that in mind, right? So when it comes to the cost of these things, it can go higher than this or it can go lower than this. Our mortgage is lower than $3,500 per month. So again, keep that in mind when it comes to this cost. But more or less, it is required anywhere from $85,000 to $10,000 a month to live as a family of 4, I would say. Remember, we're a family of 2 right now. So also keep in mind before I let you go that your house doesn't have to cost $450,000. It could cost less. For example, in Buda and Kyle, you can find options in the $300,000 range, right? So then your cost of mortgage comes down. So it all depends on your individual situation. So I just wanted to give you a ballpark and give you an idea, because I get this question a lot and I actually haven't made this video before. Now you do. You have an idea how much the cost of each important category is, so that when you decide to move to this area, you have a well-informed idea. If you have any more questions about this, you know what to do. Reach out to the number, the email, or schedule a Zoom, and we can help you through the process. Until next time, adios.